The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild has an absolutely fantastic story. Within the story, we were introduced to 4 key figures to the development of the story: Revali, Mipha, Daruk, and Urbosa. As vital as they are to the story as a whole, their stories were not fleshed out as much as the main protagonists, Link and Zelda. That's why I wanted to give my take on how I would have written more of their backstories into the game, giving the players a better understanding of who these characters were. Keep in mind that while this does contain some truth to the actual story, the backstories that I wrote for them are completely non-canon interpretations that I thought of myself. This is the making of a champion. Even as a child, Princess Mipha was always a kind and caring Zora. It was in her early childhood that she discovered her healing power. King Dorephan had gone out to fight a horde of monsters when he was blindsided by a moblin. The wound dealt was severe, and he was nearly unable to make it back to the kingdom, needing to be escorted by his Zora soldiers. Upon the sight of her injured father, Mipha miraculously awakened her healing power. It seemed to have been a reaction based on strong emotions towards somebody she loved. Muzu, the king's advisor, readied himself to devote much time into helping Mipha channel her healing power, as well as begin her spearmanship training. After all, though as royalty she would have many guards, no defense is more certain than self-defense. Mipha showed great talent and progress in regards to both her spearmanship and healing power. Soon enough, she could heal any wound, no matter how deep, going so far as to even purify and remove diseases. Muzu, no longer being able to keep up with Mipha, passed on her training to Segin, the demon sergeant. By the time she had reached her adolescence, she was already the greatest spear handler of all the Zora, and beloved by all her people due to her kindness, sharp wit, and charming charisma. One day, a group of Hylian diplomats traveled to Zora's domain to have a conference with King Dorephan. This conference was about the hero who was to wield the sword that seals the darkness, a legendary blade known as the Master Sword. To everyone's surprise, including Mipha's, it was a young and energetic boy named Link. At the young age of 4, this child somehow managed to pull the Master Sword from its pedestal, as though he were destined to be the hero. Mipha couldn't help but think about how adorable this child was to her, and was impressed by his swordsmanship, being able to abest even adult knights. Though he was a reckless child. He fell off the Zora bridge, and Mipha ended up having to heal his wounds. Muzu told Mipha off for this. It was well known that he didn't like Hylians, so seeing Mipha heal a Hylian child was very distressing to him. He was saying to her that this boy was the Hylian's responsibility, and that she has no obligation to heal anyone that's Hylian. Mipha, being the kind lady that she was, only saw a hurt child. Soon after, Trello, one of the Zora soldiers, reported news of a Lionel on Plymouth Mountain. With haste, Mipha grabbed her spear and left with the Zora guard to eradicate the threat. Mipha and the guard swiftly made it up to the top of the mountain to be bombarded by shock arrows. They all hid behind some rocks to avoid taking a fatal shot when, suddenly, Mipha noticed that Link had followed him up the mountain, and he snuck up behind the Lionel, mounting it. He was quickly flung off, and just as he was, Mipha rushed to catch him from falling off the mountain. She then took her spear and delivered a swift, graceful stab directly to the Lionel's heart, putting it down for good. She then immediately goes to Link's aid to check him for injury. The child was completely unharmed thanks to her interference. She then scolds him, but all Link does is respond with a wide grin. She couldn't help but smile at that. Along with the rest of the guard, Mipha guides the child, Link, back down to Zora's domain and brings him back to the diplomats that he came with. The diplomats, not knowing that he had followed, were relieved to see that he was safe and unharmed, thanks to the princess of Zora's domain. That was the last time she would see Link for many years. Many years had passed, and the kingdom of Hyrule once again sent messengers to the other kingdoms. This time, it was to let them know of the impending rise of the Calamity Ganon. A prophecy that's known around the kingdoms to happen once every 10,000 years. Knowing that they needed champions to pilot the divine beasts, King Dorephan, Segin, Muzu, and the rest of the Zora knew that there was no one more capable of the task than Princess Mipha. It would be the very next day that Mipha is visited by the Princess Zelda, seen in the Champion's Ballad of Breath of the Wild.
So, Princess, may I ask who the other chosen champions are?
Goron Vigilance, Daruk. Rito Confidence, Rivali. Gerudo Spirit, Urbosa. And also, the Hylian with the sword that seals the darkness. Link.
Oh. Sidon, hurry and swim up here.
Mipha, perhaps he is still too young to swim up this big waterfall.
One day, Princess, I must leave him to face my fate with Ruta. Join me. We'll go together so you can get a feel for it. Let's go. Sweet Sidon, should fate ever part us, I'm counting on you to protect our beloved home from harm. Understood? I believe in you. Now, shall we try one more time?
In order to become a champion, Mipha was tasked with undertaking 3 different trials. These trials included swimming through a glowing ring in the Lanayru Sea, fighting guardians in upland Zorana, and swimming through glowing rings on the waterfalls of Mikau Lake and Lulu Lake. For the first trial, she kept a note describing when the glowing ring would appear, which she would often repeat to herself. When the ring appeared, she glided through the water and passed through the ring. She handily took care of the guardians made to test their battle prowess, and she swam through both pairs of glowing rings in Mikau and Lulu Lake. Upon her completion, she was granted the title of champion and assigned the role of piloting divine beast Varuta. With the power of this divine beast, she would protect her kingdom from incoming threats, the rising hordes of monsters, and, when the time came, she would be there to help the entire kingdom against the rising threat of the Calamity Ganon.